All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Sudan is on the boil for over a week now. More than 400 people have been killed, and at least about 35,000 are said to be injured, as Sudan's army is fighting its paramilitary forces in a brutal internal strife. Now, thousands of people have in fact fled the country ever since the fighting broke out last week. Attempts at a ceasefire have failed miserably. Now, hundreds of foreigners remain stranded in the violence-hit nation as continuing unrest has overshadowed the Eid al-Fitr celebrations there. And now there are some pretty disturbing reports that have emerged that there are countries which are actively selling weapons to both sides and are fueling this conflict further. A Wall Street Journal report has said that Egyptian military has sent warplanes and pilots to back the Sudanese army, while Khalifa Haftar, the commander of a powerful Libyan militia, has dispatched at least about one plane to fly military supplies to Sudan's rapid support forces. Russia's Wagner Group has also reportedly offered heavy weapons to the leader of Sudan's rapid support force. Now, according to a senior U.S. official, the Kremlin-backed militia Wagner has offered to send arms, including the shoulder-mounted man-pads, anti-aircraft missiles. The Wagner Group, remember, has been active for many years in the country. And also to give us more insights in terms of what is happening in Sudan at this moment, we're being joined by Bastian Massa, who's a journalist who is focused on Sudan at this moment. Mr. Massa, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on this broadcast from WION. And the question that I want to start with is this. Now, there are reports that are emerging that the two factions in Sudan that are at war with each other are being armed by other nations. How are we to read into this?
Good evening. Yes, it's true. So for sure, what we know is that on the side of the army, so on the Sudanese armed force, Egypt is the main ally. Like, Egypt is a strong ally of al-Burhan, which is the leader of the Sudanese army. And Egyptian for sure provided intelligence, military intelligence, and tactical support to the Sudanese armed force. But also Egyptian fighters have been, Egyptian jets have been fighting in Sudan and have been bombing some RSF positions. So on one side, we know for sure that Egypt is deeply involved in Sudan. On the other side, you mentioned like Haftar. Few days before, Shamseddin Kabashi, who is a high-ranked general in the Sudanese army, declares that two countries were supplying RSF with weapons and ammunition. For sure, now what we can say is that Haftar sent at least two airplanes, to provide Hemeti with fuel and ammunition.
Right.
But Haftar is like ordering, or is also the ally of UAE. And UAE is a key in this. There is a kind of triangle between Haftar, Hemeti, and UAE. And whatever Haftar is doing to help Hemeti is being ordered or like strongly suggested by UAE.
All right. Now, the question that a lot of people would be interested in knowing is that the fact that Hemeti is the one who is heading this paramilitary group. You know, for people who are watching what is unfolding in Sudan, it's baffling that a paramilitary group can be this powerful. Some say that the paramilitary group has more soldiers than the Sudanese National Army. How is it that Hemeti has managed to grow so powerful within his own country?
What is interesting, both forces have the same number of soldiers, around 100,000 for RSF, 150,000 for the army. But what is interesting is that Hemeti is a creation of the army. It was at the time of Omar al-Bashir, the former dictator, Sudanese dictator, ousted with the Sudanese revolution in 2019. But if we look back at the history of Sudan and war in Darfur, the Sudanese army created Hemeti and gave Hemeti power, money to create this army and to fight rebel groups in Darfur. And with the time, it became more and more independent and more powerful. And just before the revolution in 2018, when Omar al-Bashir felt that he could be victim of a coup, from the army, he called back Hemeti and this paramilitary group in the capital city, in Khartoum. And that's why now we have this situation with two different and two parallel military and army.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Master, for joining us and getting us all those insights. This, of course, is a developing story, and we'll, of course, continue to track the developments in Sudan very, very closely indeed.
You're welcome.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.